What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Mini Talks. In this episode, I'll be discussing health. Two types of health: mental health, physical health. I'm only going to talk about physical, but taking note on the mental health is anything that you absorb with your senses is always going to become a permanent part of you. Keep that in mind. So be careful what you expose yourself to in certain ways, because it's always going to have an effect on you, whether you think it does or not. Which some of the same can be said for physical health, because the things that you're putting inside your body are going to affect you in some type of way, whether positive or negative. It kind of depends on what your goals are. But I take it as everybody's goal, is to be healthy. And what I mean by healthy is just observing the things that you put in your body and not getting to a point where later in my life I'm told, I'm forced into a certain area of a certain type of way of living to avoid, basically to avoid death, because your health has gotten to such a bad condition. Now we're backed into a corner and we have to come out with a fight, and it adds stress, anxiety, and it adds a lot of factors on top of a lot of other unhealthy factors that, we don't want to be in that situation. Now, back 10, 15 years ago, I've always been athletic, pretty active into certain areas of, either fitness or sports. But I started to take a closer look. Take a really closer look at the things that I put in my body, to be healthy, to be healthy. Before that, was worked out, done different things, heard different types of sciences from people in the gym. Some people call those bro sciences. But, usually you only get part of the picture when you talk to people in the gym. They only give you like a section of their day or maybe one tip, but you don't know how to incorporate that tip into the rest of your life. So it becomes, it appears to be a secret when it's not actually a secret. It just takes you doing the research to find out how to put these things together so that you're eating in a good way that's benefiting you. Because my goal may not be the same as the next person's goal, but I feel like just learning micronutrients and macronutrients is going to give you the solution to the problems that you have. Now, you can go out and you can have somebody tell you what to eat, and you can do all the work, and you don't have to know anything. You just know what you're doing works. But if you're putting it in your body, you'd like to have some idea of how it works. And, you can compare that to buying a brand new car and going out and putting the wrong gas in the car, and it just doesn't run right because you didn't find out what proper gas or what proper fuel to put into the car, what the octane was, what size engine you had, comparable to whether you had manual transmission, automatic. You start to getting into details there. But the structure, the foundation is going to be the same from one to the next. Kind of like your health. You're going to have macronutrients. You're going to have micronutrients. We call them macros for short. Some people do. But 3 areas I like to focus on for macronutrients are protein, carbs, and fats. You can look at those as foundational macronutrients. You can add fibers in there. Some people take a closer look at fibers. But if you're just starting out and you're wanting to know information about health, start protein, carbs, and fats. Proteins are going to be your building blocks of your body. It's going to repair your body. So that's what protein is used for. Pretty much simple as that. Now, where you get protein from, I used to think that once I lifted weights, I needed a protein shake because that's the only place protein came from, and that's how you got strong. I've had other people tell me the same thing. That's what they thought. Your proteins are going to be found pretty much everywhere in a lot of different types of foods. Some of them are more abundant than others. You're going to look at your meats, your animal products. they're going to have the highest amounts of proteins. When you get lean meats, you're going to have higher amounts of protein in those. If you're, eating plants, vegetables, fruits, or anything, they're going to have low amounts of protein. Now, when you get into details, those protein chains are going to be smaller in plants, and they're going to be larger in the animals. But look at your proteins as your building blocks, your repair. I could go into more detail, but I just want to give you guys like a foundation, a structure of what you need. Now, protein is primary. Remember that, because I'm going to talk about that more in a little bit. Second one I mentioned is the carbs, short for carbohydrates. Your sugars, as people call them. There's different types of sugars. Some people say good sugars, bad sugars. There's different types of sugar. There's monosaccharides, there's disaccharides, there's polysaccharides. You can do your research and go in more in depth into those. But your carbohydrates is going to be your primary source of fuel for your body. Just like I was talking about the car earlier, the car is going to use a certain type of gas. Your carbohydrates is going to be your gas. It's going to be your fuel. That's what your body looks for as your primary fuel source. If you overeat those carbs, your body will store that energy. What we know, what stored energy is stored energy is fat. Fat in your body is stored energy. And when people like to lose weight, we like to burn fat, which burning fat and losing weight are two different things. I can still lose weight and still have fat. But fat doesn't benefit me in a healthy type of way. To have a certain percentage of body fat is not going to kill you. But when you have too much fat in the body, your body's not going to function properly as it would with muscle. Muscle's going to be, I can't remember, it's one first or second largest organ in the body. You have a lot of muscle on your body. But if you lose a lot of that muscle, you're going to lose a lot of your health. Fat isn't going to have a big health benefit. So the other macronutrient is fat. And I've seen people confuse fats with like if you eat fats, you get fat, which is not always the case. Your carbs are going to be the ones stored as fat in the body. Fats are going to benefit your hormones in your body. They're going to benefit you in some other areas. You have your saturated and non-saturated fats. They're going to get into like your cholesterol levels, certain types of fats that you eat, your LDL level, HDL. Speak to your doctor about your levels, getting tested and all those things if you want to find out more information on that. Fats can also be used as a fuel source, and it's something that people do in some of your other diets. They switch their fuel source over and use fats as a fuel source, but the body has to have a specific structure in order for that to happen. If you balance your macros in a certain way and eating certain foods and your sugars come from certain areas, you can change that structure there. You can do your research a little bit more on that. But it can happen. Now, going back to the protein, like diets that you see, you can call them fad diets. They have your different diet names out there, like your paleos, your keto, the carnivore. There's, different types of diets out there for health. All of them are going to, use protein as your primary source. Your protein has to be there. But all of them are similar in carbs and fats are going to be adjusted. You can always play with your carbs and fats. You can be high on one, low on the other. If your goal is different, you're looking to bulk. Some people have high carb intakes and high fat intakes. It kind of depends on what your goal is and what you're trying to achieve and how you play with those numbers. Now, know your macronutrients, because your macronutrients know you. But where people get into trouble is where they get out of balance with these. And like I said, you always go to protein first. Protein is primary. Can't say that enough. It's true that, you want to burn off your calories and you want to consume calories and you want to burn those off, create a deficit. Some people, when they start to count calories, they don't know exactly how to count them. They just know that doing little calories seems like the logical thing to benefit, when in actuality, it's not always the case. I don't need to be doing 300 to 500 calories and call myself on a diet because I'm not getting any kind of health benefits. And that's where I kind of get into micronutrients as well. A lot of different micronutrients. You're going to get micronutrients from your vegetables. You're going to get it from your animal products just as well. A micronutrient is going to be more abundant in fruits and vegetables. But if you looking at your macro and your micro and you're eating less calories, you're getting less of everything. You're also getting less of the carbs, which is your fuel source. You're getting less repair from protein. You're getting less hormone support from fats. So less doesn't mean that you're going to be healthier. It may seem like it, but it's not the case. This is where we get into like the things that people don't want to talk about. It's like your resting metabolic rate, and you start throwing terms at them, and they're like, "Oh, you lost me here." Which some of you, if you're listening, you maybe lost already. But research, go somewhere else, pick this information up, or just rewind, go back to the beginning, listen again. Because we know on macronutrients, micronutrients, bigger, broader picture. But we're trying to fuel the body. All right. So let's talk about the resting metabolic rate. And that's easy. Just bear with me. If you weigh 180 pounds, add a 0, and you get your resting metabolic rate. Those are simple terms. You can get more complicated, but that's, simplified. Add a 0 to 180, you get 1,800. That's the amount of calories that you want to consume in a day. That if you're sitting on the couch all day, that's how many calories your body's just going to burn just by sitting there. So you use that as a foundation to start with. All right. So now that you know how many calories that you need in a day, where are those calories coming from? Those calories are coming from your macronutrients, your proteins, your carbs, and your fats. Well, you can't just go out and eat 1,800 calories of fats. You can't do it 1,800 calories of carbs, 1,800 of protein. But the interesting thing is, you're probably better off eating 1,800 calories of protein than the other two. Is because why? Protein is primary. If you don't take away anything else from this podcast, is protein is primary. Remember that. All right. So out of those 1,800 calories, we can break those into percentages. You hear some people say, don't count your calories. I don't focus on calories. I don't focus on the calorie count. I focus specifically on macronutrient count. And the reason that works is because if I count protein, carbs, and fats, if I have 1 gram of protein, 1 gram of protein equals 4 calories. 1 gram of carbs equals 4 calories. So carbs and fats have the same caloric amount to it. When you do your math, your fat's going to be different. 1 gram of fats is going to equal 9 calories. So this is where your calories are coming from. So I just count the grams of how much I'm doing. And your calories will be there. When I use that resting metabolic rate of 1,800 calories, I'm going to use that 180 pound weight that I have as my protein intake. I'm going to take in 180 grams of protein. It's going to be where I start. These will be adjusted depending on how your body reacts and your goals, your specific goals that you have. So that's where I start, 180 grams of protein. If I don't do anything else for the day, I got to have that. If I only have 20 grams of carbs, 40 grams of fats, I've got to have the protein there. It's where I'm going to get the best results, whether I'm losing weight or trying to gain weight or put on muscle. I want that to be there. All right. Now, like I said, your diets are going to manipulate carbs and fats depending on what kind of diet you're on. If you just prefer to eat more fats, you can eat more fats. There's nothing wrong with that. To fill in the rest of those calories for the rest of the day, you may go with 100 and something grams of fats. It's not going to be equivalent to your protein, but it's going to be a little bit under that because of that 1 gram to 9 calorie ratio. If you're balancing protein and carbs, they're equivalent, between the 1 gram to 4 calories. It's easy. It's going to be 180 grams of carbs. That's going to be your percentages right there. Protein equivalent to carbs is a good place to start. The remaining of your calories will be in fats. From those areas, when we hit those numbers consistent, sometimes it may be a week for some. It may be 2 weeks for others, depending on how your body reacts, what your body's been through before. Changes will start happening. You might, notice a couple of different sizes of the genes. It may go up, may go down, it may get more muscle. If you're adding in exercise, different things are going to start to happen. It's when we need to establish that metabolic rate and be consistent so we can start to make changes to start improving. And those changes can only be made depending on what your goal is. I can't sit here and tell you how to change, but I can tell you a foundation of where to start and where the good start is. But if you never ate in any type of way, 4 weeks period, you may have a hard time just staying consistent. It's the biggest thing that I see in other people, and it's the biggest thing I see to the people that I advise is getting that consistency there. And that consistency has been good with the numbers, eating the proper foods. And what I mean by proper foods is foods that are high in protein to reach your numbers, or you have to supplement. Hitting grams of carbs is going to be relatively easy. Your fats number is going to be relatively easy. Your protein is going to be the hardest because people find out that, you're either big, out of shape, and you've been told not to eat. And then the first thing that somebody advises you to do is to go out and start eating. And they think eating meat is just going to make them fat. The more they eat, the fatter they're going to get. That's not the case. You're putting healthy substance into your body. You're maintaining health, things that your body uses, your building blocks, your energy source, hormone function. Think of those things, because if you don't have the support in your body, then you're going to be unhealthy. So kind of went over that in less than 20 minutes. There's a bigger story than that, but I hope it spark your interest some in going out and looking into some of these things a little bit closer. If you want to know more, you know where to message me, you know where to get a hold of me. I can break it down to you a little bit more. And not to be cliche, but the information is out there. You just got to be careful where you look. The information is something that you can take a class on. I'm sure you can find online classes that tell you about these things. I've taken a few of them myself just to discover, the things that I need to know to achieve my goals. If you're serious about your health, you will put in the work. It's what I've learned. If you get serious about it, you will put in the work and you will make yourself healthy. If you're not serious to do the work, you need to upgrade your insurance policies for your health, because you're going to need them the older you get. Because I know the older you get in your life, your body doesn't function the same. And a lot of the demands for your macronutrients, your micronutrients are going to be higher because your body just works in a different way. Your body's never going to stay the same. Other thing I will add is, like, if your goal is to lose weight, and a lot of people want to lose weight, I say focus on losing fat. I may have said that earlier. Losing weight and losing fat is two different things. If you want to lose fat, you got to have the protein there. If you just want to lose weight, you can just eat clean. Your body will burn your muscle off and you'll lose weight, and you'll get to a stage where you just can't lose anymore, and you'll find that your fat percentage is way higher, but your health still can be in jeopardy. You can be 99 pounds of fat and still be unhealthy. Although you may look good in clothes, you're not going to be healthy. So looks don't equal health. Just keep that in mind. And what else did I say keep in mind? Protein is primary. All right. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Mini Talks. I have more coming up for you next week. I'll talk to you guys in the next episode.